Hello everyone, welcome back to another video with me here at Coombe Wood Golf Club. And over the last couple of years we've done a number of videos on all aspects of golf, really, from driving, fairway woods, pitching, bunker play, chip and run shots, right down to stingers. Now all of that hopefully you've found useful, but there is one particular element I want to cover in a little bit of detail today, because none of those shots will really be totally effective unless you have your hands placed on the club in the right way. So I want to spend a few minutes here talking about how to properly grip a golf club. Now, a lot of people think their grip is perfectly okay. They tend to clamp their hands on. As long as right is below left for a right-hand player, then that's pretty much all there is to it. But if you pick up any decent golf instruction book, always chapter number 1 is all about the grip. It is there for a good reason, because good golf starts with a good grip. There's a bit more to a good grip than just clamping your hands on the club and swinging away like some crazy thing. Proper placement of the hands in order to achieve the right pressure points within each hand, which will allow other muscle groups throughout the arms, shoulders, the upper body and everywhere else to work in the right sort of sequence to deliver the club squarely and powerfully back into the golf ball. So it's not just a matter of grab hold of a club as if you've got a hammer in your hand and go from there. Let's kick off with the left hand and the placement of that, and let's get up a little bit closer. And we probably all have read about how the club sits diagonally across your left hand, but I want to get into a little more detail about these things. Yes, it does run diagonally across the left hand from the last lower joint of the index finger to that little pocket formed at the very base of the little finger, and the pad in the heel of the hand is hooked onto the top of the club. That's how the club is placed into the left hand, the last 3 fingers applying what little pressure there is going onto the club. Now, I'm roughly got the back of my left hand facing down the target line, so my palm is directly away from my target. As that hand folds over the club, as I look down on the club, I can see in my grip position about 1.5 to 2 knuckles on the back of the left hand. The thumb, very important placement of the thumb, is just right of center, and I've got a fairly snug line between the base of the thumb and the index finger. I don't want to extend the thumb away from the index finger and have it spread all the way down the club shaft, so there is a nice snug line there, not tight, but a snug line between the base of those two. The absolute number 1 element in the left hand is the placement of the club grip itself underneath that pad in the heel of the hand. A huge error I see with so many people is when the club sits into the side of that pad. That creates a gap down here where the little finger is not wrapped fully around the golf club. You lose contact to one of the controlling elements there in that hand, and that is going to lead to a very poor position, namely the buckling of your left wrist into the backswing and ultimately the collapse of your left arm. It's in a really, really weakened position. So that is a real big element, to hitch that pad up onto the top of the golf club. The little finger is then wrapped securely around the club, and the pressure I can feel from those last 3 fingers is squeezing the club up underneath that pad. The thumb now just rests gently onto the top right center of the club shaft itself. With the right hand, whether you choose to have a two-handed, or what we call baseball grip, where there's no contact or overlap of the right hand to the left, or you use the interlocking grip, or the most commonly used grip, the overlap, basic placement is going to remain the same. The key element here is that it sits down into the crook of those fingers. The middle 2 fingers here are the ones that are going to apply the pressure into that bone at the base of those fingers. I don't want it sitting here into my palm. That's going to create this fist-like grip, and there's no feel, no control, no speed and no freedom to wrist and forearm movement throughout the swing. So the club sits down hooked into those middle 2 fingers. As I fold my thumb around, that pocket that's forming in the palm of the right hand is really going to go right over the top of that left thumb. So it's covered inside the right palm. Middle 2 fingers are applying the pressure here. But here are some key elements. What's happening now with the thumb and the index finger. If there is a gap between the big finger and the index finger of the left hand, absolutely fine. This is acting almost like a trigger on a gun. I don't want to have a position where that is wrapped around and the thumb is bent over the top of the index finger. That again is just going to lock the club in there like a vice. There's no freedom of movement to any of the muscle groups. So it sits diagonally into those middle two fingers, a little bit of separation of the index finger away from the others. And again, I'm looking to form a snug line here between the base of the thumb and the forefinger, and the thumb is not applying pressure directly to the top of the golf club. That's a real killer. That thumb pressuring onto the top of the club is going to fire the outside muscles of the arm, and that's where you get this big heave over the top with the shoulders. Whilst it feels like you've got a lot of control over the club, we don't want it there. It'll be a killer move. So that thumb is literally just brushing the front side of the club, and I get the sense I'm almost trying to point that middle knuckle of the index finger away from the target. I don't want it wrapped underneath. I want that knuckle in that position, in that trigger position, and the main pressure here is middle two fingers squeezing the club into the bone at the base of those middle two fingers. Palm comes over the left thumb, right thumb is just brushing the front side of the club, the index finger there, little bit of pressure from this upper section to the side of the club, but the main grip is held in those middle two fingers. With a correct grip, I'm now in a position where the forearms can rotate properly, the wrist hinge can take place properly, I can set the club into a square on position, and very importantly, I'm in a position to release the club powerfully back through the ball. Now that grip position is going to apply on any shot that you're playing in golf. It is absolutely key on any shot. When it comes down to short game, a bad grip is going to hugely restrict you on how the club can be delivered back into the golf ball. I really want you to take some time over studying that, work on your grip position. If your grip position is incorrect right now, the correct position undoubtedly is going to feel uncomfortable at first. Practice with it, work with it, get used to it, and it will pay massive dividends throughout your entire golf game. Work with that and enjoy your golf.